A liberal-leaning legal organization is planning a large-scale effort aimed at thwarting President-elect Donald Trump's second-term agenda. Using Project 2025 as a blueprint, Democracy Forward is employing more than 800 lawyers to challenge what it's identified as 600 priority legal threats under Trump. Joining me now is Chief Executive Officer of Democracy Forward, Skye Perriman. Skye, good to see you. So let's talk about which potential threats of the Trump 2.0 agenda are your top priorities, and how will your organization challenge them?
Well, our priority is simple. It's to protect the American people and the Constitution. There is a president-elect and an incoming administration that ran in their campaign saying that they were distancing themselves from Project 2025, from a range of harms, from restricting reproductive health care access, to undermining the very functions of our federal government, to undermining education. They ran from that. They sought to run from that agenda during the campaign trail. We're already seeing in the early appointments that they're announcing that they hope to make a real effort to accelerate that harmful agenda. The vast majority of the American people do not approve of Project 2025 and this extremism. We saw that on ballot initiatives across the country. We saw that is why, of course, the incoming president had to distance himself from it on the campaign trail. And so we're preparing, along with a lot of other organizations, to hold him to account if the administration seeks to implement this harmful agenda.
I'm curious, Skye, would you say that Democratic activists were largely unprepared for the onslaught of policies that Trump unleashed during his first term in office?
I think the American people were unprepared for the level of extremism that we saw in the first Trump administration. And I think that they're likely going to be surprised this time, because we see time again him seeking to distance himself when he talks from this extremism. But then, of course, on the campaign trail, distancing himself. But then, of course, now making a series of appointments that will really accelerate this extreme agenda. So we're just going to make sure that people and communities across the country have the ability to make their voices heard and hold their elected leaders to account.
So the report suggests that Democracy Forward has spent 2 years preparing for a possible second Trump term. How have you done that, and what will be the day one response?
Well, we started seeing this coalition of very far-right organizations, these Project 2025-like organizations, wreaking havoc in courts and communities across the country, doing everything from seeking to ban abortion access to banning books in communities across the country, and so have been monitoring those threats. It was no surprise to us when we saw Project 2025 published, and then now that we're seeing the incoming administration seeking to embrace those policies. So we have been preparing, understanding those threats, and then really understanding that the law will block some of these threats. Our Constitution and our democracy provide a range of tools for the American people in this time, and that's really what we are focused on, ensuring that people and communities have that voice.
You mentioned other groups, and there are certainly other progressive groups beginning to organize against Trump's policies. This week, 2 Democratic governors announced they're forming a group to challenge the administration at the state level. Will Democracy Forward work with the Democratic Party and elected officials? I mean, how does your organization fit into the broader constellation of party leaders and advocacy groups to accomplish all of your goals?
Well, we're an organization that's really focused on people and focused on communities and focused on protecting our Constitution and our democracy as a whole. We welcome cooperation with any elected leader, with any group or community that wants to be part of this fight. We have been pleased to work with a range of people and communities, from more conservative-leaning people to more liberal-leaning people, all who understand that the stakes are far too high in this time for the American people not to have all the tools our democracy provides and our Constitution provides to ensure that their rights are protected.
Give me a quick sense of advice for Americans to remain energized and focused on doing the kind of work you're going to do.
You know, what I have to say is this is a country that has overcome odds. We have been in difficult times before. It is we, the people, that are going to be the force that ensures that our country continues forward. And there are going to be a lot of threats. It's going to be very hard. We've seen this extremism throughout the last week with a number of appointments. We've seen attempts to undermine our civil service, to undermine people's individual rights. But there's nothing that we can't do if we do it together. And that's really what we are seeking to enable and empower communities across the country to do.
Sky Perryman, good to talk with you. Thank you so much.